Well, ladies and gentlemen, I will call to order the regular meeting of the Economic Development Trust for Tuesday, October 28th. And the first item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes of the last meeting we had. Is there a motion to approve the minutes? A motion made and second. Is there any further question, discussion on the minutes? If not, please cast your votes. And the minutes are approved. Thank you very much. Next item is to approve the minutes of the August 26th meeting. Apparently we missed some approvals along the line. I'm on the minutes, pardon me. Thank you. I need a lot of help, ladies and gentlemen.
Sorry.
So, thank you. Okay, now the next item is to ratify some claims. The claims have been distributed to the trustees previous to this meeting. Are there any questions about the claims, comments? Shall we entertain a motion to ratify the claims if there are no questions? We have a motion to ratify the claims.
Second.
A motion made second to ratify the claims. Any further discussion? Cast your votes, please. And the claims are ratified. Thank you very much. Item 4 are items for individual consideration, and item A has to do with the Project 180 streetscape. Is anybody want to say anything about this project? Any questions about the project? We have a spokesman from the Public Works Department who will explain the Project 180 to us.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The item that you have before you today is Project 180. It's actually final plans and specifications ready to advertise for a bid. This is going to be for Package 7B, so we're proceeding. There's obviously construction well underway in downtown, but this is that next series that will encompass mostly Park Avenue and also Broadway. So it's being done again in short blocks. The work is being coordinated simultaneously. We're planning to receive bids in November. Work would begin at the beginning of next year after the holiday season. There's been a lot of coordination with a lot of the downtown merchants. The estimated construction cost is about $12.3 million, and all of the work on 180, including this package, is still anticipated to be completed in 2016. So with that, I can answer any questions you might have.
Yeah. Are there any questions? Yeah, Larry?
Yeah. Kathy, correct me if I'm wrong. This Park Avenue, the part of this project entails, is also the focus of that retail study, is it not?
Yes, it is. Yes.
How will we integrate the conclusions from the retail study with what's being done on the infrastructure?
We have been working with the consultants, with the consulting engineers on this project and with the consultants on the Park Avenue study to make sure that we can coordinate things. Most of the improvements might be, not building a tree well. There might be things that we can do as the project's being constructed even, is what I'm trying to say. So maybe you wouldn't put a tree well in a certain spot so you could have more outdoor dining, or we may make some adjustments to some doorways so that we can add additional on-street retail access on some buildings. And we think all of those things can be addressed as the project is being built and through change orders and other things like that.
So we're not expecting any radical conclusions from the retail people like shutting down Park Avenue to vehicular traffic or anything like that?
No, there won't be any recommendations like that at all.
Are there any other questions? Yes, Beth.
In addition to that time frame, you said it'd be done in 2016. Is that at the beginning or the end of 2016?
Right now I would tell you that's in the spring, summer time frame. There is one additional package we have not bid yet, and that's going to be 6B. You remember that's being coordinated with the intermodal hub on E.K. Gaylord. So we're anticipating bidding that in the spring of 15. So again, I think if we maintain that schedule, I would say spring of 16, summer of 16.
Okay. And final question as it relates to the retail study, when do we anticipate receiving that? When do we anticipate receiving the retail study report?
I believe that it will be completed in the next few weeks. We had a final meeting with the consultant about 2 weeks ago, so I would expect something a month, 6 weeks from now.
Eric, I have a question. There's a lot of privately improved sidewalks along Park Avenue where they put in pavers and things that are in poor condition. Are we working with the building owners to replace those?
We are. So there is a lot of coordinated work with the pedestrian walkways as a part of 180. A lot of those existing pavers do get removed and replaced with some of the concrete streetscapes that we've seen, some of the modern pavers that we're also seeing in 180. In the areas that are still private, though, specifically like, say, the east side of Leadership Square, we're also seeing partnering by the private business and the building owners where they're taking those 180 improvements on site. Although we may not be participating directly from a city or from a trust, they are taking those improvements on themselves. And we're seeing that in the Sandridge area as well.
That's good. Thank you very much. And, yeah, Jim?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a couple follow-up questions. Under your protocol, remind me the difference between PC, WC, and SC as you code the project?
Those are really just the individual projects themselves. So the PC is the paving portion, the W is the water, and then this last one, the S, is the sanitary sewer. Aquit, the Oklahoma City Water Utilities Trust, is actually paying for the water and the sewer projects, and so they're being tracked as a separate number. It's really just a tracking mechanism that you're seeing in the memo.
Okay. And I see the project total that you had mentioned is a little over $12 million. I was recalling that these packages got broken into an A and B because $10 million was unmanageable for bidders, I thought, but now we're at a B with it at $12 million already?
So this also includes all of the water and all of the sewer work that's anticipated with it as well. So this is the paving, the water, and the sewer all combined. And yes, you are seeing that package is being split. What you might notice is, in addition in the memo, is you're seeing that we're also bidding at alternate sections. So you'll see the base bid there, which is predominantly the Park Avenue piece. You're seeing as alternate 1 and alternate 2. Broadway as an alternate, and then we're also looking at the intersections as alternates. So with that, we're going to have that flexibility at the time of the award to award as much as the budget will allow.
Eric, I think Jim brought up a great question. To my mind, will Aquit be reimbursed for their work?
No, they're not. They're actually paying for the water and the sewer directly as a part of the trust.
Thank you. Any further questions?
Move approval.
I'll second.
Have a motion made and approved made and second rather, to approve item 4A. Are there questions? If not, please vote. Item 4A is approved. Item 4B, a joint resolution with the City of Oklahoma City to support the extension of I2E Inc.'s administration of the Oklahoma City Technology Business Launch Program at the University of Oklahoma Research Park. It's 840 Research Parkway, retroactive July 1st to December 31st, 2014. How much money are we talking about here?
This item is to extend the management of this program to the end of this calendar year. What happened was, if you recall, I2E received a grant from the EDA for $1 million, and we provided the match to that grant. There's a very small amount of money left over at the end of the grant program. It's $23,258. And so this program will allow the time to lapse so that I2E can continue to spend that money in support of the original grant programs and services that they provided through I2E. So as Scott Meacham is here, may be able to provide a little bit more explanation, but I think that's pretty much it.
Scott, would you like to talk to the group about your project?
Yeah, I think Kathy did a great job encapsulating what we're talking about. We actually have a little over $23,000 of the city's money that was contributed to the original project. So it really won't cost you anything. The issue is, do you want us to write you a check back, or would you like us to use that money and continue doing some of the programming we've been doing through the end of the year? And if we don't, obviously we'll scale down what we're doing. But if you want the money back, we'd be happy to write you a check.
The accountants would never know what to do with money coming in like that.
It'd be unusual, I know, but we're happy to do that.
Well, thank you, Scott. Are there any questions of Scott? He's here to answer your questions.
Move approval.
I'll second.
Made to approve item 4B. And second, is there any further discussion? If not, please cast your votes. Item 4B is approved. Item 4C, I was promised we'd have an explanation of this so everybody would understand exactly what we're doing.
Sure. This item is to concur with the city in requesting that the Oklahoma City Redevelopment Authority transfer roughly $693,000 to the city to pay the Brownfields note that's outstanding on the Skirvin Hotel. If we pay it by November 1st, we are able to waive the origination fee on the loan. And if you recall with the Skirvin, The revenues from the hotel, from our mortgage and ground lease on the hotel, are revenues of the redevelopment authority. So the redevelopment authority has been accruing those revenues since the Skirvin reopened. We have a little bit, close to $6 million that we've received to date. So we're going to be using some of that money to pay off this loan and save a little bit on the cost of the loan.
Are there any questions, Kathy?
I would move approval of the item.
Have a motion made and second to approve item 4C. Are there any further questions or discussion? Hearing none, please cast your votes. And the item is approved. Thank you very much. Item 4D is agreement with the Oklahoma County and the City of Oklahoma City to provide increment district note number 8 funds for the Oklahoma County jail sewer rehabilitation project. Are there any questions about this particular one?
Can you describe the nature of the amendment?
Brent, you may have to describe the nature of this. I think it's so that we can upfront the county a little bit of the money so they can encumber it and get the project completed. But
Actually, they went out for bids. Initially, they thought it was going to cost around $1 million to do the sewage replacement there at the county jail. When they went out for bids, the bids came in at a higher amount of the $1.3 million. So they came back and asked for us if they could get an additional allocation of TIF funds to offset that increase in price. And we had to go through a process where we go through the TIF review committee, then go to the city council for the allocation, and now we're at this point in time to amend the agreement so we can provide them support to make those infrastructure improvements at the county jail.
Are there any further questions, discussion? Yes.
It says that $372,000 above the original estimate, $78,000 of it was for design. What was the design component of that $1 million? It seems awfully high for an increase of $78,000 for design work.
I believe that they decided to include their overall design in their ask at the end of the day. Initially, there was $1 million, which we thought was going to be for the actual repairs, and then when they came back and asked for the additional monies, they asked for the funding to include that. So they were just asking to see if they could get TIF funds to help with that.
Ron, did that answer your question? I'm not surprised.
it's engineering fees to engineer the project, and we can get more information from the county if you'd like us to, but I think what happened was their original request was $1 million to cover the construction costs, and when they came back to us, they asked for this $372,000, which also covers their engineering fees on the project.
Larry, you had a question.
There have been plans, Brent, talked about, and Jim knows more about this than I do, I think, to do something with the county jail in the future. Will this money have any residual benefit should the decision be made to build another jail someplace?
I would think not. I mean, this is so that they can operate the kitchen
Short-term fix.
in the jail. They cannot serve food that's prepared in that building right now because of the sewer problems. So, I mean, they've got some pretty serious issues over there that this helps them address.
Additional questions?
I'll move approval of the item.
I have a motion made and seconded to approve item. Are there further discussion? Cast your votes, please. And the item is approved. Thank you very much. Item 4E is a change order number 3 to a project at Crystal Bridge in Myriad Gardens, lower level, of an increase of $3,292. Any questions or comments on this one? It's the way we've got change orders here, $300,000 is just chump changes. The chair would entertain a motion to approve it, even though it is a small amount.
In spite of those comments, I'll second.
Okay, motion made and seconded to approve item 4E. All those in favor, cast your votes, and the item is approved. Thank you very much. Okay, item 4F is a presentation of the Oklahoma City Economic Development Foundation. The group we've contracted with, we, the city of Oklahoma City, have contracted with to do some job searching for us.
Kurt Foreman with the Chamber is here to give his quarterly report.
Well, thanks for the opportunity. I have two things to share with you. One is a snapshot about our business retention and expansion report that we do on behalf of the city every year. And I have a few slides to go over with you. That's based on the report. You should have a copy of it that we produce every year, and this is available if you ever need copies that you want to share. This was mailed to everyone we met with, as well as a number of other leaders around the community. And then I'll give you a quick highlight of the quarterly report as well. So before I do that, I have two guests I'd like to introduce to you, one who came very far, and the other who came as far as I did this morning, so from our offices. But first is David Smallman, the gentleman in the third row. He's a longtime friend, international economic development consultant. He's here from the UK. He's been helping us for the last few months, well, actually about a year and a half, in thinking about and helping us as we go to the air shows over in the UK. I've also been over there to engage the energy sector on behalf of Oklahoma City and Oklahoma, and David has been very helpful to that process in connecting us with Aberdeen, Scotland, and parts of the UK. So he's a longtime friend who's in town this week visiting with the State Economic Development Department of Commerce, as well as speaking to our partnership group this week and engaging some of our leaders. So we're glad to have David here for his third visit, I believe, to Oklahoma City. And then the other is the young lady in the row ahead of him is our newest staff person at the Economic Development Division at the Chamber. Her name is Jennifer Smith, an Oklahoma State grad from the Kansas City, Missouri area, who we were able to woo back to Oklahoma after her time at OSU, and she's our newest business retention and expansion person who took over for Elizabeth Richardson. So she'll be involved in calling on companies during the coming year and engaging our existing employers. So I wanted you to meet her as a part of today as well. So just real briefly, we can go through a little bit on the report. As usual, the report seems to be good news. Well, it doesn't seem to want to go forward. There you go. I'll do a different button and see if that makes a difference. Nope. That was a very quick slideshow. Okay, so just the quick highlights. We commit to you that we're going to call on over 300 companies a year to engage our existing employers. This past 12-month period, we called on over 418 employers, so we are well in excess of the number, and it's always good to engage our companies. Just a few highlights. 82% of the companies that we talked with are in the same ownership team they had the year before in the past 5 years. Almost 70% of these are privately held or family-owned companies. 57% of them are headquartered here in Oklahoma. So many of these are the small and mid-sized companies that make up the lion's share of our economy here in central Oklahoma and Oklahoma City. Those 418 companies represent almost 60,000 jobs in our community. So they represent quite a cross-section. You can move to the next one for me. Okay, you already did. So of those 418, 159 of them reported to us that they are adding jobs, and they in total represent over 4,500 jobs for our local economy. They've either literally been added or are in the midst of being added going forward. The average salary, based on the data we were provided, was just over $40,000 a year. So it's about average for our area. And existing companies, again, we don't have a control over the salaries, but it's nice to see that that number is above 40. And the total capital investment that they told us they would do is over $430 million. So again, those little bits of adding equipment or adding new investment, adding onto your building or whatever it is, makes a big difference in the long run. And 119 of the companies were also, in addition, we often look for ways to assist them directly, either connecting them with city services or connecting them with other business leaders who can help them on particular topics, and 119 of them were able to be helped by other services. If you can go to the next one. This is sort of our track over a number of years. We asked them, are you planning an expansion in the next 36 months? And you'll see that that number goes up and down. It's been as high as 59%. We're almost at the lowest number we've had in the last few years. But the good news is so many of our companies have been adding people and adding investment that we don't view that as a direction of their thinking on Oklahoma City, but more that they're absorbing the growth that they've already made and are continuing to move forward with the growth they've already done. We often visit with companies repeatedly over a number of years so we can track their progress and not just see them once and then never call on them again. So in some cases, some of these companies would have already expanded in the last couple of years. Let's talk about some of the things that they shared with us that I think are important. We always ask them what their impressions are of a variety of issues. These are the ones that they felt most strongly with on the positive side. Workforce quality is often one of the highlights of our interviews. They're very pleased with the quality of the workforce they have here in the market. They always like more people, but they love the people they have and the quality of the people. They appreciate the services they get from the city and the chamber and others around economic development, and just the fact that there's a lot of good things going on in the community. They appreciate hearing about that. Housing, local government is always a nice one to have on the high positives. Cultural and recreation, you can see all those. Even local tax structure, state tax structure, all these things are things that they either rank excellent or good. On the more negative side, or some of these are not very heavy negatives, but these were the ones ranked most often to us. So 8% of people, so most people saw those as positive, but some saw them as negative. Technical training, and sometimes there just isn't a program for a specific need. That comes up occasionally. Generally, most people are satisfied with zoning, but a few suggested that was an issue for them. Building permits, public transportation. K-12 is something we frequently have discussions with the companies, and they appreciate to see continued progress and efforts by the community to improve K-12. The next one, workers' compensation rates. Because this was drawn over a year's time, many of the changes that the state has implemented around reforming workers' comp either had not shown up in their pocketbook yet, so they're hopeful that that will be a positive, but they had not seen it in their pocketbook at the time they were asked. So it continues to be a concern, but we believe that will reduce over the next couple of years. You'll see that go to the other side. The interstate system and the local road network, we often get asked about that. That's not about that we don't have them. It's usually about the quality. They get concerned about potholes or things like that. It's not, because we have a very good network, but sometimes the quality becomes an issue for some of the employers. So for them, those appear to be the ones that they would ask for the most help. Just to end on a positive note, there's a lot more information in the research about the demographics of the companies and their impressions of the area, but we often leave our board of directors at the chamber with our pipeline every month, and this is a snapshot of the number of projects that we're currently working on for the area. So 30 active projects representing over 13,000 potential jobs, a payroll of almost $700 million, $1.16 billion of capital investment, which has been a large spike in the last couple of months, and then a very large amount of square footage as well. So as I always say, we don't expect to win every one of them, but the more we have in the mix, the more chance we have of winning as many of them as possible. So if you, in the report that we provide to you every quarter, we have usually a summary up front. We've done a little bit of modification to give you a sense of sort of a tracking over the months of the quarter. But if you go to the second section that has the blue highlights at the top, you can see on the measures that we commit to you that we'll work on each year, we are tracking very well, whether it's number of companies visited since the middle of the summer. We're at about more than 25% of the way there. We've been helping about a third of the number we promised to help each year, and we're seeing good tracking on jobs. The next section about attracting new companies and investment, you'll see a 0 there, but the good news is that since we closed this report to provide to you, we've had the Boeing announcement, which I know is sort of, they're an existing employer, but this was a new operation coming to town, and so that's 900 jobs, and there's several other projects that we expect to happen. So we feel there'll be no problem hitting the 1,500 jobs and the other numbers there. And on investment, our goal is to get $180 million. We're already in the first quarter at $153 million in investment. So that tracks our last year. We're over $400 million for the year. So I think the news is good that lots of people are choosing Oklahoma City and investing heavily here. And so I'll leave the rest to your review, but we're very pleased on all fronts. The news is very positive. We continue to engage employers effectively, I think, in ways that they appreciate both the way they're treated and the product really resonates quite well with them. So thank you for what you do to make that equation work, because you're a key part of that equation, and we appreciate your support and effort. Happy to answer any questions you have on specific projects or items of interest.
Kurt, in our packet, we had the side-by-side comparison of Chicago.
Very good.
And how was your trip, or how was the trip in last month?
Terrific. Good question. Yeah, that's something new we're trying for the first time, is to actually do a side-by-side comparison. And we hired a consultant to help us set up appointments in the Chicagoland area, and then went and called on about 12 entities, some consultants, but mostly companies, to talk to them about either expanding here or moving here if they feel that's a big deal. And as you can see, in a lot of the factors, we compare very favorably. Unlike Oklahoma and Oklahoma City, Illinois had to make some very tough decisions on taxation particularly, and raise business taxes considerably. And so there's a lot of pressure and pain that many of those employers are feeling. And so we're trying to let them know there are other great places in the Midwest and the South where they can operate very affordably and effectively. And we're hopeful that many of those, there's follow-up that came out of them, and we're following up on many. And we have a group that's going to go back to Chicago a couple more times in the next few months. We hope to do that on other markets as well. We're looking at Colorado right now. You'll be hearing some things about Colorado in the next few weeks and engaging employers there about Oklahoma, and we'll do that in a few other markets as well. Thanks for the question.
Additional questions? Kurt, does the Chamber have somebody on staff who looks at emerging issues and what impact they might have on our economy?
Well, we are all tasked as a staff to do that, and we're actually spending time right now looking out at 2020. It's about time for us to do our next 5-year plan for economic development, so our staff on all fronts is hard at work on that right now and looking out at what the issues we might want to be dealing with. The ones that I think are going to be front and center will be talent, making sure that our employers have the people they need with the skill sets they need, either to replace people who may be retiring from their jobs and or just the sheer growth of employment that we've been having. So I think you'll see that be front and center. That's a front and center issue in a lot of communities around the country. I think education still will be, and then just being prepared on sites and buildings and making sure that we're doing everything we can to have the product at the right time for companies will be the things we work on. If you have ones you'd like us to look at, if there's one in particular that you've been reading about or thinking about, we'd be happy to tackle it.
Well, the impact of oil prices, for instance, on our economy. Some forecasts show it down at $75 a barrel, and that's almost what it costs in Oklahoma to produce oil.
Right.
Horizontal drilling and fracking. And so at some point in time, if our oil prices continue to fall, our Oklahoma companies are going to shut down, slow down their business.
Right.
And so we're going to lose some investment tax credits, intangible drilling costs kind of things. We're going to lose a lot of employees as they lay off employees because they don't need them if they reduce their drilling efforts. And that sort of thing, I think, needs to be put into the equation as we go forward.
Absolutely. I think it pushes the question about why we as a community and as a region and as a group of partners need to continue to diversify the economy. Why it's great to have people like Boeing adding and going now to eventually there'll be 2,700 people, and hopefully knock on wood, someday they'll even do more than that, and to continue to look at all fronts to look for those opportunities. So people can stay in our region. They may change sectors. We're hearing from our energy partners. They're very bullish on Oklahoma as a production market. You may have seen Harold Hamm commenting recently that we're poised to move into the number 3 position in terms of production, ahead of California and Alaska, and only behind Texas and North Dakota. So it's something we're certainly watching, and I know our employers will be as well. But we're hopeful that they're doing work in a lot of markets, and hopefully that will ease it a little bit. But you're right to be mindful of it.
Second question is, there was an announcement in the paper yesterday, I believe, that Access Midstream Partners and Williams Brothers, who own most of Access, will merge their midstream operations. And Alliance, Access rather, is headquartered here in Oklahoma City.
They are. Their offices are up off of Lincoln, and Williams is now going to be the majority owner of that, so technically their headquarters team will be in Tulsa, but this will continue to be a large regional office for them. So whether it affects the headcount in a large number or just a few is still to be determined. But
did they happen to be, Access happen to be one of the industries you called on?
I don't believe they're in the 400 here, but they certainly are on our radar screen, and we've been engaging with them.
Good, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Any additional questions?
Well, as always, thank you very much.
Kurt, thank you, and welcome to your guests. Glad to have you. Do the guests have anything they'd like to say at this point?
I had her ready to sing, but
I'm going to take it on your ears.
Okay, next item on our agenda is item 5, General Manager reports that was in your packet. Are there questions we can ask of Branch on his report? Hearing none, thank you, Brent, for your work. Appreciate it. Is there any comments from the trustees? Any comments from the staff? Any comments from the public? Any comments at all? Nobody had any comments, so we are adjourned. Thank you very much.